Hi everyone, so I'm going to be taking you through another tutorial for one of the heroes in Heroes of the Storm. This time a new addition to Heroes of the Storm, the Lost Vikings. Now these guys play completely differently to any other hero we've had in Heroes of the Storm so far, but also generally quite a bit different than any hero I've encountered in a MOBA before, so an interesting experience all round. But let's jump in, shall we, and let's start a game. Now, the main thing to remember with the Lost Vikings is there are three of them. They can each die, attack, be moved, do actions individually. But they are a different playstyle completely because essentially you have three heroes to deal with. So you can either keep them as a blob or you can split them up. There's a high risk reward with these guys because at the end of the day they are very powerful as a threesome, but they are very weak individually. Now they actually are a melee class. They're a melee specialist. Essentially the big blue guy is the tank. The green guy is kind of a range damage dealer but at a very tight close range, and then the red guy is kind of like a medium range damage dealer. But essentially they really do play as kind of more of a melee character because you're so up close and personal the whole time. Whilst the other two characters might be hanging back throwing their damage in from range, really it's such close range that it really only counts as melee. These guys are really vulnerable to AoEs, as you might expect, with having 1/3 the health effectively across all of the characters. But together having a full set of health if you think of it like that. So we're going to be playing on Cursed Hollow. This is quite an interesting one for the Vikings because you've got three heroes. Being able to actually tap the tributes is quite a bit easier, especially if you're able to use two of the heroes effectively to defend the other guy who's pulling the tribute. Now, power-wise, you'll notice that they don't have any abilities unlocked to begin with. Instead, we have the ability to switch between the individual heroes if we want to, controlling one individual hero or controlling the whole group. Over time, they will unlock as they level up some of these clickables, effectively these cooldowns. Now, what I think I'm going to do, I'm going to go up top this time. And the one I'm taking here is Viking Horde. Essentially what happens is when these guys... Oops, have I left Olaf behind? Oh, he's coming up the rear. Basically, as these guys pick up regen orbs, what will happen is they will gain additional regen over time. For every 2 regen orbs, 1 additional point of health per regen tick. That makes a big difference later on in the game. Now, one of the tactics that is quite useful to use here is to actually split these guys up and make use of them to grab regen orbs in each lane. But it's a really difficult high-risk strategy. When it works beautifully. When it fails, well, you end up losing quite a few of your Vikings very early on. You don't really gain anything extra from it. So like I say, very high risk, high reward strategy with these guys. I need to back off. See here, they're zoning us out a little bit at the moment. Just going to try and get 3 in a lane. Actually, there might be 4 of them here. How many we got? 1 there. I think we might have 4 in this lane. Let's see. You can see there, they're constantly trying to tap me with AoEs to the rear. Very good tactic if you want to deal with the Vikings. Go, go, go. Just got to try and keep these guys out of the combat a bit, really, for now. You can see I'm keeping them all as a group. I'm not worrying too much at this stage about splitting up or anything like that. So my blue guy, he's the tank, green guy is the medium, and the red guy is the longer range of the two. As you might expect, the tank has plenty of health and defense, and then so on down the line. Ooh, God, those AoEs are gnarly. Not really managing to gain much ground here. They're zoning us out quite badly. So I have to keep diving in, do some damage, and then back out. Whoa, mind those AoEs. AoEs here for the Vikings are the most dangerous thing because 1 or 2 good AoEs and it will just wipe them down really quickly. But they are phenomenally powerful later on. So we're going to get Spin to Win here. Spin to Win allows me to do this. All of the Vikings spinning around on the spot, dealing out damage around them. When positioned well, if you nail that, then you're talking basically all 3 spinning around, hitting all of the enemy heroes. Basically run these guys into the middle of the pack and let rip. Sippy cup time. One of the key things with the Vikings is if they're close enough to each other and one of them hits the sippy cup, then they will all gain the regen buff. Essentially, these guys, they work as a team, and as long as they're close enough together, then they'll quite happily share these buffs out. You can see there again, managing to do damage to all of those creeps there with spin to win. Quick and easy way. And you see at the moment we're basically 3-on-1, as it were. He might be a full-sized hero, but we've got damage dealing on our side, as it were. He's there wailing away on our tank, completely ignores the two guys who are actually doing the most damage to him at this point. And you can see there I'm just regenning away. Yeah, he's noticed that he needs to kind of take out these guys at the back, so he's dropping a little bit more AoE in there as he can. But we'll just try and zone him out a little bit now, I think, because it's going to be time for tribute soon. More regen orbs. See my regen counter here, so bonus +4 regen every tick. Towards the back half of the game you can be anything up to 20 additional health points every tick there, quite easily. And in a fight that can make all the difference, you know, as you're diving in and out of combat. So what I'm going to run these guys forward and I'm going to spin to win. And again you can see there I've managed to hit all of the creeps, reducing their health considerably. Now that guy's backed off, giving me a bit of a clear run in this lane. Now, seeing as I'm the only person in the lane, I think it's probably time to go and do some support somewhere else. Someone calling me a noob. Honestly, people in this game can be so stupid. You know, at the end of the day, I'm dealing with something up top. You can't be everywhere at once. Now for this particular one I'm going to be taking Balog's attacks, Balog the Fierce, and what that will basically do is buff the attack speed of the green guy, allowing him up to 5 stacks of increased speed of attack, and that does make a bit of a difference. Because of the way his attacks always strike units behind, you're effectively ramping up your attacks and you're managing to do AoE damage in a cone. So you can see there I'm blasting away, and that's just ramping up. Right, tribute time. So I use my 4-second run boost just to get up into combat, and then we're going to spin to win. We'll just try and do some damage here to lock these guys out. Throwing the AoEs in, lost one person, back it out. I have to go. Ouch! Try and chase down, I think, now. So very vulnerable to AoEs, and that's what caught me there. Got hit by a few bits of AoE, and of course it doesn't take much with the Vikings to take them out of action, but the good thing is that they respawn very quickly. Let me just bring them all back together now. The respawn timer for each Viking is reduced by 25%, so strictly speaking at the early part of the game you're constantly able to bring these guys back a little bit faster than everybody else. It does make a big difference to the gameplay, and later on there is a talent that you can get which will allow you to reduce that death time by 50%, so popping back all of the Vikings 50% quicker than your opponents. Effectively a 60-second timer then becomes a 30-second timer. Again, it's a risk-reward strategy. If your Vikings are dying an awful lot, then you're actually giving away XP and so on. So you don't necessarily want those quick respawn timers. They can actually work against you, essentially because you're dying that much quicker. You just happen to be coming back into the fight that little bit faster as well and dying again. But the whole idea really, I think, is to try and keep the Vikings alive as much as you possibly can. As with anything with Heroes of the Storm and MOBAs, you really don't want death. See what we've got next, right? Longbow time. The other option there is one that brings the Vikings back to life very quickly and teleports them directly to another live Viking, basically. It's similar in many respects to Diablo's special power that allows him to quickly respawn if he feels like it, if he's built up enough souls. Gotta get out of this fight. So, because of the way the Vikings work, they're obviously stronger as a group, and that applies to their ultimate as well. Their ultimate is much more powerful than all 3 of them are present in the longboat, which I'm going to show you in a minute. Just waiting for a respawn off Balog. He's back. Let's go. I'm just going to try and grab that regen if I can actually as well. Go. Got it. You'll find that with the Vikings, if you're using the regen talents, as it were, then you will take those risks, go and try and jump through, grab that regen orb and get out, because it's worth it long term. Right, let's deal with these guys. So Viking longboat is the ultimate. And what it will do is all of them spawn into a longboat. The more of them that are in the longboat, the more power they have and more damage they do. Consequently, people don't really want to spend too much time anywhere near them. Right, these guys are focusing. Anyone who knows how to play against the Vikings well will just pick off the weakest target first, then the tank, and then Balog seems to be the only one left usually, being at the mid-range point. Yeah, wipe out, gutted. Which is an opportunity for me to show you how the deaths work here. Basically, each Viking is worth 1/3 of a death. So if you kill it, then you're only going to get 1/3 of a point effectively, which is why you're seeing 25s against some of these guys, or a quarter of a death point, whatever it's worth. So essentially, the opponent doesn't get a full credit if they kill one. You'll only end up racking up the full credit, as it were, if you kill all 3 of them. So again, for those people that like KDRs, that will make some people happy and some people curse. Right, let's get in on some of this. I don't know why he wants to pick on this guy first. I think we'll go take this camp instead. Mostly because I can. Bringing the Vikings into the centre, doing lots of damage to everything around. They just rip through mercenary camps. One of the great things they also have is an ability to actually give mercenary camps near them, or mercenaries near them once they've been spawned, a buff. Essentially making them more dangerous and more damaging towards the enemy fort. Now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go with Olaf's damage dealing for nearby enemies. It's basically AoE every time he hits. Again, what I tend to do with the Vikings is really try and build up their DPS during the early parts of the talents. Later on they'll get a shield, which lasts about 7 seconds. That is where we kind of go for the survivability on these guys. Prior to that, we might as well just ramp up as much damage as we possibly can. Send Olaf in because he's capable of doing quite a lot of damage, and he can stand toe-to-toe with these defensive structures quite easily. And run through, and we'll deal with the sippy cup as well. You can see there the amount of damage he actually takes is pretty minor. And then we'll go Viking longboat because they've come to try and defend. Right, time to buzz out of here. So you can see that 4-second run boost. Ooh, fired off an ultimate I think on me there, but nearly got away with it. Nearly got away. You can see that 4-second run boost does give you an opportunity, but again, everything with Heroes of the Storm has counters. There is no such thing, I think, as a perfect strategy in this game. Not really with any of the characters. Everyone has a weakness if you know how to exploit it. And some players will just do silly things like trying to run forward and giving us a free kill. But anyway, so again here, I've got my run boost. What I can do, I could use this to start running these guys down, but actually no need. Ah, that's broken their attack a bit, hasn't it? Right, run back and get the sippy cup. Actually, no, I won't because it's still recharging. Let's just bring Balog back into the fight. Grab those regen orbs again. One great thing with the regen orbs is any hero that grabs the regen orb, it splits off and then hits any other hero who is nearby on your side. So it does give you some opportunities. So you can see here, next set is charge. Every time Olaf charges, he can stun for 1 second, quite useful. Run faster, breaking slow and roots, or all Vikings gain a shield. All Vikings gain a shield. Later on in the fight, this is going to be absolutely essential, because when they start wailing on me, I pop my shield and they get finished off. Probably long before they get through the shield. That's the plan, anyway. Spin to win. About to lose that tribute. So we're currently, bonus regen is at 10, so that's 10 additional ticks of health, sorry, 10 additional health every tick. Does make a humongous difference. Right, this is going to be perilous, so time to pop the Viking longboat. And the shield, and you can see there, we are wasting these guys. But Olaf's about to die, that's a wipe, but how many did we get then? Got, I think 3 then, 2, something like that. It was worth it. Always worth it. 2.5 deaths to 7 kills. It's not a bad ratio at this point. Obviously, this is one of those games where when you're trying to play 3 characters simultaneously, trying to actually do a tutorial and play, not the easiest thing in the world. I would have done a few things slightly differently if this was more of a kind of competitive game from my point of view. You can see there they all recharge at slightly different times depending on when they die, so you won't always have all of the Vikings available simultaneously. Again, you can use that to your advantage if you want to use Vikings for denying ground, etc. For zoning people out, that is an option that's available. One of the tactics that I've seen and used myself that works quite well is to have Olaf collecting up or going for the objective, and these 2 guys basically defending or deterring people on the enemy side from coming in for combat, just essentially giving you 1 or 2 extra seconds to grab that objective and get out. Olaf being able to take so much damage does give him a significant advantage. Oh, I don't want to lose these guys. Oh, damn. Fighting back hard. Alright, gonna have to use the Viking longbow. It's less effective, but it's to try and just stop these guys on this charge a little bit. Give my Jana a chance to recover, get out of there. See, it does do quite a lot of damage. It's a very good deterrent, I think. But does work best when the rest of your team are there, and it can just sort of add to the additional damage output. I've not really encountered a scenario where it's been able to rip down an enemy hero simultaneously, on its own simultaneously. It's much better as a good finisher, and obviously as for deterrent as well. And I should be back by now. I need to find a sippy cup. So you see there, Eric hits the sippy cup, everybody gets the buff in the Vikings. Now, I think we're going to have to start sending some mercenaries down here. I do wish people wouldn't take MOBAs quite so seriously, do you know? It's only a game, you know? And as I've highlighted in many videos before, there is no such thing as anybody who knows how to actually play MOBAs. Everybody sucks at MOBAs. Simple fact, get used to it, no point bitching in the team chat. You know, there is not a single person, even the world's best MOBA players, do not consider themselves good at the game. Because they're too complicated, they're too unbalanced, and ultimately they are too chaotic to really be able to say, I am the best in the world at this game. It just isn't true. Nobody is good at MOBAs. No one is good at Dota 2, no one is good at League of Legends, and no one is good at Heroes of the Storm. So get over yourselves. Anyway, the simple fact is that it's a really good fun team game when everyone is playing well as a team. Obviously, if you've got someone slacking off, then your mileage may vary. But let's go for the Viking boat here. Just going to back into here, just try and keep them away from the gate a little bit. Every second they're away from that, there's a little bit of an extra chance we have to turn this battle. There's 4 of them in there. Come on, where is everyone? Back off. Simple as that. Let the fort do the work for a little moment. Will be a pity if we lose this game, just because I'm currently on a 5-streak win, but never mind. So you see Olaf there is able to dive into combat now. These guys are playing well as a team. Wouldn't surprise me if they're not actually on a team chat together. You know, like team speak, talking to one another. Just from their names as well. Funny, isn't it? You've got one person slagging off Malfurion for not healing properly, and him slagging people off for jumping into combat. Guys, get over yourselves, really. Funny bunch, but anyway, you get them. At the end of the day, this one is going to be a loss, but it's still a pretty good video showing you how these guys actually play. You can't win them all, as they say. But that's a team, you know, that is a prime example of a team that is working well together. They've stuck together, they've played as a team, and so on. And at the end of the day, this team haven't been playing very well as a team, and we lost. Simple as that, really. But that is the Lost Vikings. That is a pretty good example as to how they actually play. Like I say, when they're playing as part of a team that is working well, they absolutely dominate.